for another episode of the MANCARD Life Podcast, and we're glad that you're tuning in with us for this episode 3. And episode 3, we're going to be talking about Barnabas and the power of godly speech. And so we just want to welcome everybody back. Remember, our purpose is simple. It's biblical principles, real life, real men. And we're going to continue with the series of biblical manhood from my book, The MANCARD. And again, if you haven't got your copy, you want to get a copy, you can go to several places. You can, if you need bulk copies, like you need several for your church or a group, just go ahead and there's a place on the website, mancard.life, to send me a message for that. But you can get these books on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, Walmart, places like that. We also said if you want, just send us a private message or something, and we'll get you one of the MANCARD wallets, MANCARDs. That way, at the end of this series, you'll be able to sign your commitment.
That was my idea. That was my idea.
That was Rob's idea. He's got good ideas. But also, I want to remind you that if you want prayer.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, tell them about that.
Because I'm sick a lot, I'm around the house most of the time, and I've started praying 3 times a day. I've only done it once today because I slept late, but if you'd like to go on my prayer list, you'll get prayed for 3 times a day. And nobody will have to know. You can just send it to me, in a messenger or whatever, and I'll pray for you. Just send it to me.
All right. So we got several things going on. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, places like that. We're also on Spotify and Apple. So those are all the places you can subscribe or go to hear us and listen to this. And so again, we're thank you for that. And don't forget to invite somebody to our episodes. To go back to the first and the second one that we've already done. Yeah. And but this is episode 3. And so in the last episode, we talked about Timothy, how Timothy was a man that kind of exemplified biblical manhood, right. I believe. And it's somebody that Paul mentored, and we talked a little bit about Paul as well. And in this episode, we're going to expand on the verse, 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 12. Let no one despise your youth, but be an example to the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and purity. And so we just encourage you to be an example. And we looked at that word example in the Greek. It's tupos. And that word tells us to make an imprint, to make a mark, to be an example on others so they can follow that. And so that raises the question, how are we to make a mark on people, right? Mm-hmm. And so in our passage, 1 Timothy 4:12, and as you can see, I brought us some artwork that I had made for my office. I brought it over here so that we could have it as our backdrop. But it's got that verse on it, okay? And so it's got 5 marks of biblical manhood, and we're going to talk about the first one today. We're going to talk about speech. All right. We all get in trouble with our speech, ain't that right?
Yes, we do.
So, again, if there was one, I was talking to my church the other day, I think it was on Wednesday. If there was an area that I needed to work on most, it's speech. All day long. So I've got to watch what I say, and it's not necessarily what I say, because I don't
how you say it.
It's how I say it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't use foul language or anything like that, but it's kind of how I say it, and so I got to be careful about that.
Yeah.
But
funny story. My dad, old sailor. He was he cussed like a sailor.
Okay,
pretty much.
So it's true then.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yes. And he was watching. Remember, there's an old show called The Naked Archaeologist.
You told me about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was about this archaeologist that was finding biblical stuff in archaeology and stuff. And my dad, it was like God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, naked archaeologist.
Oh, okay.
And he calls me one day and he goes, "I can cuss," and I was like, "What? What are you talking about?" And he said, "I was watching The Naked Archaeologist." And then he said that the only cuss word really was when you use God's name in vain. So I can say blank, blank, and blank, and blank, and blank, and it's okay. I was like, Dad, I don't think that's what he meant,
Yeah.
But yeah, he was a card, man. He was a good guy, but man, he had a mouth.
Oh, no.
One day I'll tell you, he's the only person I've ever known that cussed in a business meeting at church. So,
Oh, my goodness.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's an interesting story.
It is.
Well, go ahead and tell us since you started.
Okay.
that.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, man.
Nope,
I know
go
we
ahead.
got to get to the book, but my stepmom was a Methodist minister, and they were in a business meeting, and they were debating on giving her a raise, and it was
Okay.
during the time the economy was, this has been years ago, and my dad, he'd had strokes and stuff by then, and so he was sitting like on the front pew, like like that.
Didn't even know he was listening.
No, and so anyway, he this guy gets up. He's like a banker, and he gave my stepmom said he really gave a good reason that I shouldn't get a raise right now because of money and and all
Yeah.
that. So when he finished talking, my dad was sitting there like this, and he sat up and he goes, "Well, that ain't worth the dang." But he said the D word,
Yeah.
right there and she got
In the
the
business
raise.
meeting.
She got the raise.
They were scared of him.
I guess
If he's
so.
going to say a bad word in a business meeting, hey, let's not mess with that guy.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
So I know he died a month after my son was born, and my son's mixed,
Yeah.
and he's brown, and so when he came to the hospital, the day we were bringing Diesel home from the hospital, he held him and he looked at him, and you're thinking, this is fixing to be a sweet moment,
Yeah.
And my dad goes, "Well, he looks like a turd."
Oh, no.
But that was Dad,
Yeah.
So
Anybody else you probably would have licked him a few.
I know it, but
Yeah.
so I call Diesel now when he gets
Oh, no.
aggravated at me. I say, "All right, turd, get in here."
Oh, no. Okay.
So I got to work on my speech too.
There we go. Yep.
So-
I got, later on, I've got a few stories of what not to do.
Right.
So that I think I can share with everybody. But so if you really want to know what kind of man someone is, listen to him.
Yeah.
I believe by listening to men, because what the Bible says is what comes out of your mouth is what your heart is, what reveals in your heart. And so words are powerful. Words can build a marriage. Words can destroy a marriage.
Yeah.
Words, yeah.
No words can destroy a marriage.
That's right as well. No words can destroy a marriage. Words can inspire kids or they can crush a child.
They can crush one. That's right.
And we probably seen that a time or two in youth ministry, how
Sure
words
did.
have really affected those kids that we were trying to reach. And so words can lead someone to Christ or they can push someone away from Christ as
Right.
well.
That's right.
mean, depending on what you say, people can kind of get an idea of what you're going to be like.
Right.
And so we got to be careful. So men, we got to be careful what we say. And the reality is this, that every man is already making an imprint with his words. All right.
Yes.
So the question is, what kind of imprint, what kind of mark are you making with your words? And so, I wonder what are some words that we remember people sharing with us?
I'm bringing up Brother Lucky again.
Yeah.
Lucky told me one time, he said, "You preach the gospel no matter what." And he said, as long as you haven't done anything unbiblical, illegal,
Yeah.
all the, all those uns,
Yep.
he said, "You keep preaching. They ain't got nothing on you."
Yeah.
And so that always stuck with me. As long as I'm, right between me and the Lord, I'm going to keep preaching.
That's right.
And,
That's right.
Sometimes preaching's hard.
Yeah.
I used to hate, and I know that you do sermon series,
That's right.
but I used to hate when I would say, I wonder who this sermon's for. And then I'd get up there and preach it, and then somebody'd come up and go, "You knew about me and such and such." I was like, "No, I didn't, but evidently God did."
Yeah, that's right.
But I'm like, "God, you need to give me a heads up,"
That's right. That's right. I think about, words that have affected me or, words that people say, and we've got a lot of words in the military. I have a military background, and there's a lot of sayings that we can say that for example, hurry up and wait. Those are some words, because that's what we do in the Army. We hurry up and we wait. And there's other things like if you're what is it? And I've always said this: if you're early, you're on time, and if you're on time, you're late.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard that?
Yes, I have.
Okay, those are words that kind of stick with you, right? I mean, a lot of these words stick with me that I've learned throughout the years. And so, so words can hurt, words can help, but there's words that we can remember for a lifetime that people talk, whether that's good or whether it's bad.
Yeah.
And so when I think about biblical speech, though, one man immediately comes to my mind. And so, and that's kind of who we're talking about in this episode, but it's going to be Barnabas. Barnabas is somebody that he was interesting, right away. Barnabas isn't really remembered for, a miracle. He's not remembered for any kind of sermons or writing a book of the Bible or anything like that. He wasn't even one of the 12 apostles. But he was remembered because he had an impact on people's lives. And so that's why I bring up Barnabas, because Barnabas is somebody that whether you know it or not, he has a lot of influence on some of the authors of our books in our Bible. And we're gonna get to that. But did you know Barnabas wasn't even his real name? That wasn't his birth name?
I did know that.
You did know that, yeah. Yeah. What was his real name? Do you remember?
No, I do not remember.
Joseph.
Joseph.
Yeah, I wrote it down. It was Joseph, all right? But his nickname was Barnabas.
Yeah.
And what does Barnabas mean?
Son of
encouragement.
Encouragement.
Yep, son of encouragement.
You put me on the spot here.
I'm sorry. I thought you had biblical trivia knowledge here. Okay.
I thought I did too.
But, imagine living in a way that somebody would nickname you Encourager.
I know. That would be awesome, wouldn't it?
All right. I mean, we give nicknames to people, don't we?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I wanted to give this guy in my shop, at the body shop, a nickname. You know what I wanted? Kit Kat.
Kit Kat.
Because he was always taking a break.
Oh. I thought he was eating Kit Kats.
No, he was always taking a break, but I figured HR might get on to me for that. So I didn't nickname him that, but
well, we got that preacher friend, Philip Drake.
Yeah.
When I first met him, I mean, never met him before in my life. We both had just became pastors up in Walker County, where Lucky was the director of missions. And back then, Philip was like 300 and something pounds, man. He was a big guy. And he come in to the first preacher's meeting on Monday morning that he'd ever been to in this bright orange shirt. I mean, it was so bright. I mean, like they could see him from space, and I said, "Man, you look like a crosswalk guard." And it stuck.
So that's how we got Crosswalk.
That's how he got the nickname Crosswalk.
Yeah, that's how I know him, Crosswalk. Anytime you mention Crosswalk, I know you're talking about old Philip.
I mean, he's known in El Salvador as Crosswalk. So you remember when we was in El Salvador the time he broke the chair?
Yes, I do. Oh, yes, I do.
He sat in that plastic chair and he was rubbing all around. And he was big then. Yeah. And that chair, all four legs broke on the chair.
Yeah, they were those plastic and they were kind of flimsy. I almost broke them.
Oh.
I mean, I didn't break one, but I remember when he broke that chair.
He hit the ground. And those little El Salvadorians, it was like the Japanese and Godzilla. They just took off. Yeah. And then they went and got two chairs and put them together.
I remember that.
That was great, man.
Yep. So, Crosswalk. We'll have to get him on here one
day.
We
got to, man.
Yep. So, but with Barnabas, his speech mattered. Barnabas opened his mouth and whatever came out was helping someone. I mean, that's the picture we see from the Bible about who he was. He strengthened people. He encouraged people. And that's something we got to have today. We desperately need that in men. Yes. Men to be encouragers. Yes. Because, I mean, let's face it, our culture is full of criticism, full of outrage, full of tearing people down. I mean, I mean, I don't know. That's kind of the norm. And so we need somebody to stand out. We need people to stand out, to be encouragers. All right. And biblical men are supposed to build people up.
Right.
I mean, that's the way I see it. And if we're not doing that as men, then we need to take another look at, what we're doing.
Yes.
What kind of impact are we leaving? If we're not building people up and they know us for something else, I think we're headed in a wrong direction, and we need to correct that.
Yes.
Very quickly.
Right.
One of my favorite moments in Barnabas' life, though, comes after Saul's conversion. And in Saul's conversion, if you think about it, Saul, he was persecuting Christians. All right, he was one of the ones that kind of gave the nod of approval for Stephen's execution. The first martyr, isn't he known as the first martyr?
Yeah.
In the Bible, and so Christians were terrified of Paul. Really, Saul. That was his name then, Saul.
Right.
But when Saul got saved, he comes to Jerusalem, and nobody really wants to trust him.
Yeah.
He goes in. I forgot where this was found, but he goes into the temple or somewhere, and nobody was believing his testimony.
Right.
And what did Barnabas do? Do you remember? He vouched for him.
Yeah.
He steps forward. Acts chapter 9. That's where it's at. He steps forward and he vouches for Paul. And Barnabas used his words kind of as an advocate, to encourage and to, where people were trying to reject Paul, he advocated, hey, don't do this. All right. What if Barnabas would have stayed silent? I mean, they would have thrown him right out. And you know what? I know that,
Well, the whole biblical account of the early church would be what
it would be. I believe God would have.
but it would
done
be
something else.
Totally different person, though.
We'd have a totally different storyline.
Right.
We'd have a totally different storyline if Barnabas didn't vouch, for Paul. And so, sometimes when we're making an imprint with our speech, it means that we got to speak up. When people deserve, that. I know I've had people vouch for me in my life. I remember, my first sermon that I ever preached. I'm trying to think. I believe I already surrendered the call of the ministry, and I was helping in children's church. And I was pretty excited because you know what? I think I was in Bible college, and I was like, hey, man, I just did this nice little mini sermon for these kids, and I thought it was great, And then I told my pastor about it, Brother Jeff Mann, one of my mentors, and he says, why don't you do that tonight? I'm like, where? In front of everybody? He's like, yes, why don't you do it tonight? And I'm like, oh my goodness, But he advocated for me. He saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself, because I was like, I'm not ready for this. There's no way. And do you want to know, that was probably the sorriest sermon I've ever preached. It did not come out the way that I envisioned it.
Right.
Do you remember the first sermon you ever preached?
You know what? My first sermon I ever preached was at my dad's church.
Okay.
And I preached an hour.
An hour?
An hour.
Did they kick you out afterwards?
No,
did
you
you get offered that?
I preached everything I knew that
in an hour.
In an hour. And this little girl got saved.
Yeah.
But yeah, I preached. I went from Jesus to Revelation and back to the Old Testament. I mean, I think I threw Jonah in there.
Did you? Okay.
Ooh. But yeah, everybody shows up when the new preacher, because he only goes about 10 minutes.
Yeah,
we're out here, and here I'm in an hour.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure that mine was the shortest sermon the church has ever heard. So, because like I said, nothing came out as planned. I remember feeling defeated afterwards.
Oh, wow.
Because I was like, oh, that totally stunk.
Yeah.
But I was encouraged. My wife encouraged me. My pastor encouraged me. Others, encouraged me. I mean, they don't do that these days. But do you remember when after you preach, you go to the back?
Yeah.
You go to the back, and what do people tell you as they're
Good
shaking?
job.
Good job. Good job. Did you believe most of them?
No.
Because I know they used to do that to me, and I was like, you said good job. And I'm thinking to myself, no, I don't know what you were listening to, but what I said didn't come out like I meant for it to. So, but do you, and then let's put the shoe on the other foot. I mean, like when you have you ever heard a sermon, you were like, ugh, that was,
I know, and then I feel bad.
and you feel bad, but what do you say to the guy when you're walking out the back of the door?
Good job.
You
Good
say,
job.
good job, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna do that. And
Did you
it's like,
trust Jesus for this? Good job.
Yes. So I don't know, but Barnabas wasn't finished. Barnabas was just getting started in really in Acts chapter 9, because later he's going to take a man, John Mark. Remember John Mark?
I remember John Mark.
Yep. You mentioned him in the first episode or the second episode.
I got Paul and Timothy mixed up with Peter and John Mark.
And John Mark. That's right. That's okay though. That's all right. But Barnabas takes John Mark under his wing, and John Mark had failed miserably.
Yes.
Because he left. He deserted a missionary journey, and he just walked away. And when they were going back out, on the second missionary journey, Paul's like, nope, I'm not taking him. He didn't trust him, but you know what? Who did? Barnabas. Barnabas said, hey, I will do it. And so Paul takes Silas, if I remember, and they go one way, and then Barnabas and John Mark, they go another way, and he invested in him, and he mentored him.
And then, as I said last night, what did he end up doing? Paul said, hey, or Peter said, hey.
No, it is Paul. Yeah,
Paul
came back.
Said, send him, for
send
he is
him.
Good now. He's good.
Yeah, he proved himself. And who was
Barnabas.
Barnabas did that, spoke life into him, and then years later, what do we know John Mark for?
Actually, he wrote down everything Peter told him to write down.
That's right, he sure did. He wrote down the book of Mark and Acts, and that's the author that has the most written in the Bible. Yeah, that's the most lengthiest amount that we have from one person, I believe, is how I've been taught. So so that's because of Barnabas. If Barnabas didn't, again, I think he vouched for him. Yes. Right? Just like he vouched for Paul. Yeah. He vouches for Timothy.
And something else? Evidently, Paul lived a life worthy of the calling by which he'd be called, because people listened to him.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
right. Yep, they did. And so I think about the impact that that John Mark has, and it's people are getting saved through reading the book of Mark and the book of Acts today. That's because Barnabas invested. If he didn't do that, we'd have a whole different storyline, because it still would have come out, but we would have seen it a lot differently, most likely. And so, we've got Paul. He wrote the next biggest portion of through all the letters, and so Barnabas was kind of like a teacher, disciple, or mentor, invested in him, vouched for him, all of these things. Barnabas is responsible for what John Mark wrote. I wouldn't say responsible, but he had a play in that, and Paul. Yeah. That's the majority of the New Testament right there. Right. And that's because of the power of godly speech through Barnabas. And so, men, I don't ever underestimate what your words can do.
Amen.
Don't do that, okay? Because, a conversation with your son, that can go one of two ways. Yes. And we want to encourage you to make it go the right way. Make it go for truth of what God's word says, and let it be encouraging. You never know what an encouraging text, if you'll just send it to your wife. And I need to do that more. I don't do that enough. Or a phone call to a friend. We both know what that means. Yes. Because we're both in need of that every now and then. Yeah. A good encouragement from a friend. Oh, yeah. Because it's not easy in ministry sometimes. And, both of us went through a season where we weren't actively, vocationally, let's say, in ministry. And so we've relied on each other, through the years. Sure, buddy. And so you never know what impact your words are going to have on people. So, but, I want to challenge these guys to really ask God to send them someone to mentor or disciple. I believe that's a challenge that I want to put out there. because you never know what kind of lasting impact you're going to have when you share it with somebody else and they share it with somebody else. And it just keeps going for generations. And the amount of people that your words can reach, if you think about it, is just astronomical.
Right.
I mean, it's huge.
I asked, since I got sick, how come I don't get to do anything, much, And another one of my friends, Dr. McGowan, he served with me at Indian Lake, and good friend. He's retired to the beach now, but he said, "Do you ever think it's about diesel? If you were traveling and all, what would you do with diesel?
Yeah.
And maybe you're supposed to be preparing diesel for something."
Yeah. I mean, you've already had that spoken
to
you that
hey,
diesel is going to be greater than you.
Right.
So, and how many people have you reached?
A few.
You've reached more than a few, buddy. I mean, I remember at our youth retreats, man, the altars were full.
Yeah, man. I miss those things, man.
Yeah, the altar was full and people were giving their lives, and that's just, and those were small. You've had bigger platforms than that.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Where people came to know Christ because of something you had spoke, something you'd said, and so, I honestly believe this, that that God ain't done with you, buddy.
Right.
He ain't done with either one of us.
No.
This is a new season, and I'm excited. I'm looking forward to what God does. But before we get too comfortable, all right, this episode is not over yet, okay?
No.
Before we get too comfortable, though, I believe the book of James has some things about our speech, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good warning in James chapter 3 about our speech that I just want to share some things. I think it's appropriate here to share because I believe that James chapter 3 is one of the most convicting chapters in all the Bible.
Yeah. Well, you know what? How many times do you think Jesus got brought up to him? He's Jesus' brother.
That's right.
Jesus wouldn't use that kind of language, son.
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Jesus would have encouraged you, and you're making fun of him. You know what I mean?
That's right. Yeah.
Can you imagine growing up making fun of Jesus?
Oh, my goodness.
That's going to come back and get you, ain't it?
Yeah.
But anyway, go ahead.
What we did to our brother, I had two brothers, and the words I said to them, that they were not,
Yeah.
I'm glad I wasn't back in this time period that we're talking about. And Jesus was my brother. So
Yeah.
I'd be very ashamed for some of the things I've done. But in James chapter 3, I believe it's a really convicting chapter, and it really talks about the tongue. It talks about the tongue being like a fire, and we know that a fire can be good or bad. It can cause a lot of warmth. It can heat up your food, but a fire, when it's left unattended, not in the appropriate place,
Can run wild.
It'll run wild. It'll burn houses and people, and just tons of land, and we see it all the time, and so that's what James is talking about. Our mouth can be like that. Just one tiny spark can light something on fire, and the whole forest is burnt down.
Yeah.
And James is addressing that in James chapter 3, and so we've seen how careless statements kind of affect people.
Mm-hmm.
One angry outburst, one gossip-filled conversation, one social media post. Let me tell you something. I think it was about 4 years ago maybe. I said, you know what? I'm limiting. In fact, I think I stopped for a while. Now I just limit it. Okay. I limited my political post and my Alabama football post.
Thank goodness.
Because it was making some people mad.
Mm.
And I would get in a debate on Facebook for the whole world to see.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Now that I went back and I had to go back and look at those and read some of those, I'm like, why did I say that?
Mm-hmm.
Why did I make fun of this team or that team? Or, that made, hey, you messing with football and politics.
Yeah.
That's disastrous for relationships.
Yeah.
And we got to be careful. And so I said, look, I'm not, I had to quit posting. Now I just very limited. You won't see too much. I'm not saying I've stopped completely, but
I had a guy. I said something about Nick Saban one time. And I'm a Georgia fan.
Yeah.
And
roll time.
And I was like, I don't like some of his politics, and I didn't like. And I said, and he needs to watch his mouth, which Kirby Smart does too. I mean,
Yeah.
I think he's a little on the, says some things that he shouldn't be saying, and I kind of did. I didn't really say nothing really bad about Nick. I just said I thought he ought to do something different, at that time. And this guy come on, and he sent me a private message, and like. He's like, are you sure you're called to preach? You're talking about Nick Saban? I mean, like, he went, you're saved? You're talking about somebody? I mean,
Yeah.
So he got the unfriend. But, man, I mean, people take it too serious.
Talking about football and politics.
Now, my thing, and I've got a buddy over in Georgia. He's an Alabama fan, and here I am in Alabama.
And you're a Georgia fan.
And me and him go back and forth, but it's all fun. I don't get mad about Georgia. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I got too much to do to get too mad about it now.
That's right.
But do I hate when they lose? Yeah.
Yeah.
But my life's not built on Georgia football.
That's right.
It's built on Jesus.
That's right. That's the way it should be.
Right.
Yeah. It's easy to get those things confused.
Yes.
Men, we got to be careful. Every guy likes to, I'm not going to say every guy, but, most guys will come around when they won't go to church, but they're going to go to a football game.
Yes.
I mean, and I don't say that to knock anybody. I'm just saying, hey, we'll get excited about a football game.
Mm-hmm.
But we need to carry that same excitement into the church on the Sunday sermon.
And back out into the world.
And then back out into the world. I agree. So when I see James chapter 3, I see three ways that I just want to break this down real quick that our words can make an impact. And the first one is, as it talks about, is we got to communicate in a godly way. By far, that's what we have to do. Biblical men, need to speak truth, and speak truth with grace. I've already said this before. I'll say it again. I take pride that I speak the truth. I try to on everything. I want to make sure I get it right, But sometimes I come across a little harsh on things. I'm speaking the truth, but I don't believe it's in love or it's in grace or anything.
Right.
And I've been cautioned about that before, and I try to work on that. How I speak the truth really matters.
Yes, it does.
And Ephesians 4:29 says, "Let no corrupt talk come out of your mouths, but only such as is good for building up." Mm-hmm. And so we need to ask ourselves: are my words helping?
Yeah.
Are they healing?
What's the old saying? You attract more bees with honey.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. Then vinegar.
Vinegar.
Then
That's
vinegar.
Right.
Yep. Are our words pointing people towards Christ?
Right.
So our words, we got to communicate godly. And so before we speak, and yes, we usually do these in the heat of the moment. Usually that's where I fail the most. We need to say, hey, is what I'm about to say going to build somebody up, or is it going to tear somebody down?
Yeah.
If we can remember to do that, and if you have your man card, I would like to think that you could pull this out and you can be reminded of it. That hey, I need to be careful in my speech.
Or you could pull it out, throw it away, and say, hey, I'm going to tell them anyway.
Yeah.
No, I'm just joking.
Rob, don't.
That's the old Rob.
Don't knock the man card.
That's
Rob.
the old Rob.
Don't knock the man card. No, I know. But
I've had trouble with my speech, since the divorce.
Yeah.
I mean, I was bitter.
Yeah.
And unforgiving. I mean, and I know I have to do all those. I got to get rid of all those things.
Yeah.
And I work on them, but it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. And when somebody says, "Well, what's she doing now?" It's tough not to just throw her to the ground. I mean,
Yeah.
throw her under the bus, But
yeah, those are areas that I believe I have to work on as well. Just certain situations in my life that have come into my life, and I got to be more careful about how is it going to build them up or is it going to tear them down? If it's going to tear them down, I don't need to say it.
Right. That's right.
Again, man, it's easier to say than do sometimes, but it's something we had to work for. The second thing that I see here, another mark, is avoid foul and corrupt speech. The standard here isn't just to avoid profanity. Mm-hmm. That's just part of it. the standard is honoring Christ with your words. So a man can, avoid cussing, but you also need to avoid the jokes, that might destroy somebody, the sarcasm, the bitterness, the criticism.
Yes.
We got to be careful of what we say. So it's not just the foul words, it's just the corrupt speech. The speech, again, that goes back to the first one, that's tearing people down. And so all of these things can become sinful speech, and it's something that a biblical men need to be careful of.
Yes.
Be careful of what you say. Make sure what comes out of your mouth is under the lordship of Christ.
Right.
Everything that we say. And then the last one fits real perfectly with Barnabas because it's become an encourager. This is where Barnabas really shines at this point.
That's one of my spiritual gifts, exhortation.
Exhortation. Okay. Yeah. So Barnabas, it was a guy that, that vouched for people, encouraged people. And so, again, these are lessons that we need to learn. We need to avoid the criticism, avoid the complaining, pointing out what's wrong. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Yes. You see, I'm saying this, and I'm not perfect by no stretch. And so these are areas that I work on. That's why I can talk about them, because I know that I have to be careful about what I say. And so encouragers can be rare.
That's right.
A true biblical encourager can be rare.
Especially in church. Seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been to some churches. I might even pastor one or two, but most of the church is bitter and mad, and they won't talk to that side of the church. And I mean, seriously.
Yeah,
I mean, what kind of example are we showing the world if we can't get along?
That's right. That can happen. It can happen anywhere, And it's a sad shame that it might happen in the church, and we, it's not a church that people will want to be at if they see it, and it's something that, that's known by people. They'll talk. People talk. And so so we gotta be encouragers. All right, and so. Just imagine your life if you were encouraging more people.
Right.
If
you're going to feel better.
Yeah, you will. I mean, if you're encouraging your son, my son, our children, my daughters, their husbands, imagine what kind of, imagine how much better those relationships can be, how much stronger they'll be when there's encouragement taking place. Yep. A lesson that I've got to have. Imagine our marriages as well, when they're built on encouragement, how much better, that is, because, hey, with some ladies, they're, what is it about the 5 love languages? Yeah. One of those is, what is it? How we talk to them and stuff. Right. So I forgot what that one's called, but yeah, what we say.
I think John Mark said it.
John Mark. So, or what about at work? Man, if we were better encouragers at work, I mean, there's some people that I could tell you that have been difficult to work with. And I wonder if I was a better encourager, would that have been better? Again, some things I wish I would have changed is lessons that I can take with me now. But I mean, it probably would have looked totally different. So this is how a man leaves an imprint, leaves an impact with their speech. There's power in our speech. And so when we think about our speech, I mean, what comes to mind when somebody says, "Hey, how's Rob's speech? How's Matt's speech?" I mean, we can be known by what we say. Yeah. I mean, and so just imagine what they might say about any of our guys that are out here listening to this podcast. Right. What do people say about them?
I'm going to plead the fifth.
You're going to plead the fifth? Okay.
Just joking.
Every word we say is going to leave a mark.
Right.
And Barnabas definitely left his mark on people. For sure. Left his mark on Paul, left his mark on John Mark. And, because of that, Barnabas's influence is reaching millions and millions upon millions of people.
Let me quote the great movie Gladiator.
Okay, yeah.
What we do in life echoes through eternity.
That's right. That's a good one. That's a good one.
How will we be remembered? Not how we live, but how we'll be remembered.
Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely.
So, yes, men our words matter. And so we need to use them to point people towards Christ, to build up our
Yes.
families,
Yes.
to strengthen our churches and to leave an imprint that lasts for eternity. I think that's a good way to sum all of this up,
Yes.
because biblical manhood is more than just what we do.
Right.
It's how we say it. It's what we say. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Anything else for this episode, Rob?
No, you pretty much convicted me pretty bad. So
I got steel-toe boots on this today.
I got tennis shoes on. It didn't feel
It
good.
didn't feel good. I know these lessons hurt me too. So, but my prayer is this. I pray that this episode, has spoken to you in some way. If it has, share that with somebody.
Yeah.
We'd
please.
love nothing more to see you share this message and to tell a friend, hey, go check out this podcast, the MANCARD Life Podcast.
We would really appreciate it.
Yeah, we would. And you can go to the website, mancard.life, for some more resources. You got the book, you got the MANCARD. You can go there to listen to these. And so, I just think it's an honor to be able to have this platform now.
Yes.
That we can reach men in a whole different way. I mean, when we were doing this before,
Don't
I
forget.
don't remember about podcasts.
Also,
do you?
don't forget, women.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Don't forget, we want you on here too, because
That's right.
then you can see what we're trying to build these men into, and you know how to react to it.
Yes. Ladies, don't tune us out.
No.
All right. Please don't tune us out because, yes, you can learn a lot from this about your man or about your man to be. You may be single, a single lady watching this. And, hey, this is going to tell you what kind of man you're looking for.
Yeah, that's right.
100%.
Exactly.
So, well, until next time, remember biblical principles, real life, and real men.